who, in your best guess, is going to be the first $60 million a year annual payout quarterback in the National Football League, Tom?
Right now, Dak Prescott's the one that's got the best chance because he's maximized his leverage at each point through the course of his negotiations, not just by playing out his deal and potentially playing it out again here in 2024, but the fact that the Cowboys had to use a second franchise tag to buy themselves time for the paperwork to go through when he signed that extension a few years ago. That means a third tag would be 144% of his original cap number this year. So you're talking about close to $80 million in 2025. That effectively makes him untaggable next year. And so for the Cowboys, if you're trying to get something done before he hits free agency, potentially even before the start of the season or training camp, 60 million very possibly could end up being that type of number. And I know that there's been a lot of speculation in Dallas. I saw it again on a TV network this morning. Is this it for Dak and Mike McCarthy? Are they both, looking to save their jobs here? I would still say, Rich, it's fair to say there's a possibility, there's a pathway where one or both of them still could end up having new deals before the start of the season. I think that in Dak Prescott's case, Jerry Jones wanted those leaves to fall. A lot of them have fallen at this point. They got a pretty good idea what that number might be. There's different structures you can talk about. You can talk about a shorter deal potentially. And with Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones has watched him lead a team 3 years in a row that's won 12 games. Does he want to push this all the way through the season? Is there a possibility something could get done? I wouldn't rule out either of those scenarios here, Rich, but Dak will be the one to keep an eye on just because that's such a huge piece in a marketplace that also, of course, includes Tua Tagovailoa. It includes Jordan Love. It's going to include some other young quarterbacks in the coming years once they become eligible here. But right now, the biggest contracts, the market reset contracts, they're generally about leverage. It's hard to imagine somebody who's got more leverage right now than Dak Prescott.
Unless it's Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence, right? It's not like there was leverage there. It was just, giving him what they were happy to give him, I'm imagining, as well as figuring out by the time his contract's over, $55 million might be a relative deal for somebody of his talent level as well as market value. And that's why I identified when I was talking to Mike that just figuring out how it would work. Obviously, Dak, you said, has the leverage. That wouldn't be exacted till 2025, we're assuming. And then there's Brock Purdy to go next year, which is also looming over the Ayuk conversation that's occurring right now. And Jordan Love goes, Tua goes. That's why I'm kind of thinking maybe it's a couple of years until C.J. Stroud is the guy who gets to 60 first. Like, that's the one I pegged. Just trying to throw a dart at the board here, throwing that.
You also have to look at this as percentage of cap. And, the percentage of the cap taken up by the top quarterback contracts has gone from 15% or so a decade ago to now all these deals are getting done at upwards of 20%. If you even look at the Trevor Lawrence deal versus the Joe Burrow deal, in terms of percentage of cap, obviously Burrow was significantly more because the cap was like $20 million lower when he signed his new contract. So that's the other part of it is all these teams are budgeting out into the future. The cap had an unprecedented spike this past year because the COVID debt had been paid off. You got gambling money, you got new media deals. And I would anticipate that it continues to grow, probably not at a $20 million per year type of a clip, but it's going to continue to go up. So, with regard to Dak and when he can exact that leverage, I would argue, certainly the maximum leverage is when you've got additional bidders in 2025. But if you're Dak's agent, and Todd France has been doing this a very long time, he's got a very good idea of what the marketplace would be for Dak Prescott. And the Cowboys have a good idea that, hey, if we get into a multiple bidder situation, that's where it might be a Kirk Cousins type situation, and there only has to be one team to outbid us. If you're the Cowboys and you love Dak Prescott, which they do, your best time to get a deal may be right now, but Dak still has that leverage because if he doesn't get the number and the structure that he feels comfortable with prior to the start of training camp or maybe the regular season, then at that point, I think that the odds significantly spike that he's going to be putting on a different uniform in 2025.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.